It was supposed to be an ordinary flights, smooth skies, smiling crew, the familiar chime of takeoff announcements echoing through the cabin. People settled into their seats, some already dozing off, others watching movies or chatting quietly. In first class, where luxury met silence, a young black boy sat beside his mother. He wore simple clothes, a hoodie over his nas, a t-shirt, and kept his eyes focused on the tablet in his hands, tapping through simulations with a calmness far beyond his years. Flight attendants moved gracefully through the aisles, offering drinks and warm towels, unaware of the moment that was soon to shatter the peace. Then, out of nowhere, a jarring beep pierced the cabin. The lights above flickered. The air conditioning let out a strained wheeze and stopped. Uneasy murmurs spread like static. Moments later, the captain's voice crackled through the intercom, his tone unsteady. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing a system malfunction. We are working to resolve the issue. Please remain calm." But his voice couldn't calm what his words had already stirred. Faces turned pale. Eyes searched for reassurance. The hum of panic grew louder than the engines. Somewhere in the back, someone cried. Others clutched the armrests, trying not to imagine the worst. Flight attendants, now noticeably tense, rushed to and from the cockpit, whispering to each other. The emergency lights flickered again. The atmosphere inside the plane turned heavier, not just with worry, but with helplessness. Another announcement came, this time more desperate. "If there is anyone on board with experience in aircraft engineering or aviation systems, please notify a crew member immediately." Silence followed. No one moved. No one volunteered. Then, slowly and without a word, the young boy in first class stood up. He unplugged his tablet and handed it to his mother. All eyes turned toward him, confusion, curiosity, skepticism. Some passengers glanced at each other, smirking. Others whispered under their breath, "Is he serious? He's just a kid." But the boy didn't flinch. With a calm stride, he walked past rows of doubting eyes, straight to the flight attendant who stood frozen in place. "I think I can help," he said. The attendant stared at him in disbelief, but his confidence didn't waver. He showed her his ID. He was part of an advanced youth aerospace engineering program. Hours of simulator work. Hundreds of troubleshooting exercises. Real-time system diagnostics training. She hesitated, looked back toward the cockpit, then nodded. Within minutes, he was inside. His small fingers moved across the co-pilot screen with purpose. He asked the pilot to reroute power to a secondary control relay. Suggested a software bypass he had studied just weeks before. The pilots, initially skeptical, followed his instructions. Suddenly, the lights returned. The system rebooted. Warning signals stopped flashing. The engines stabilized. The boy had done it. The panic outside the cockpit turned into stunned silence. Everyone stared at the door, waiting for the impossible to become real. And when he finally stepped back out into the aisle, calm as ever, there was no applause, just awe. As the plane began its descent, the tension in the air slowly gave way to a strange stillness. People who once gripped their seats in panic now sat quietly, replaying the last hour in their minds. The engines purred steadily, the lights glowed normally, and everything on the surface seemed back to normal. But what had just unfolded was far from ordinary. The young black boy returned to his seat, quietly sipping water, eyes fixed out the window, as if none of it had happened. His mother reached over and gently squeezed his hand, pride in her eyes, but not a single word exchanged. It wasn't necessary. She knew what he had done, and so did everyone else. Whispers floated through the cabin like a soft wave. People glanced over at him, some with stunned expressions, others with something deeper, shame perhaps, or reflection. Not long ago, those same eyes had scanned him with doubt, with suspicion. Some had questioned his presence in first class, assuming he didn't fit the part. Now they looked at him as something else entirely, a hero, a savior, a symbol. When the plane landed and rolled to a halt, a quiet anticipation filled the cabin. The captain emerged from the cockpit, hat in hand, walking slowly toward the front where the boy sat. He knelt slightly to meet his eyes and extended a hand. "Son," he said, voice trembling slightly, I've flown for over 20 years, and I've never seen anything like what you just did. You didn't just fix the system. You saved lives today." The boy nodded politely. No smugness, no arrogance, just a quiet confidence that left everyone around him speechless. And then something changed. One by one, passengers began to clap. It started softly, awkwardly, then louder. Applause rolled through the cabin, not with the cheer of celebration, but the weight of realization. They weren't just applauding his skill. They were acknowledging their own mistake, their own assumptions, their own blindness, because this wasn't just a story about a boy who saved a plane. It was about a boy who shattered stereotypes, who stood when others hesitated, who acted while others doubted, who belonged in a seat that the world often told him wasn't his to claim. People stepped off that plane carrying more than their luggage. They carried a new understanding. They carried the image of a young black boy who didn't wait for permission to be brilliant. He simply was. And that brilliance didn't wear a suit. It wore sneakers. It didn't come with applause. It came with action, real, undeniable action. In a single flight, he had redefined what a hero looks like. He had reminded everyone that genius doesn't come wrapped in one skin color, or one age, or one accent. It walks quietly, acts boldly, and leaves behind echoes that challenge the world to rethink everything it thought it knew.